Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to a new coloring adventure at CLAldridgeArt. For those of you who know me, or as I should say, don't know me, my name is Christine Aldridge. I am an artist. I do draw coloring books. This is my latest book that is now available. It is called Dragons, Flowers, and Mandalas. Oh my! And it is exactly what it says it is. It's a book of 24. Actually, I believe there's 28 in this images, and it's dragons and flowers and mandalas all in one volume. It joins my family of other premium coloring books, which is shown here, and all of them are available in print at Amazon worldwide, all locations, and then as PDF instant downloads in my Etsy shop. You can also follow me on social media at Instagram, Twitter, and of course Facebook. I also have a Facebook fan page and a coloring page, or a coloring group, that you can join if you would like to. Now, back to the main view. So, over this holiday season, I have been doing a series of Christmas cards. Now, all of my Christmas cards, save one or two, for which I'm yet to collect addresses, have been sent out. But as I've sort of been saying over the last several weeks, I have discovered a YouTube channel here. It's Ellen CRIMI-TRENT Art. There are a couple of others. There is Maramie's Small Art, which I also love. And there's another one, I don't remember her name now. I want to say her last name is LEFEBVRE, but that's not right. It's a French sounding name. At any rate, I'll find it and link it below. But all of them are doing these cute little watercolor, simple creature designs. Now this one is once again an Ellen CRIMI-Art tutorial, and she did it in watercolors. And I thought that since I had my Inktense out on my desk, and I've done some, all of these others with watercolor, and I also used the Arteza pens last time, that I would do this this time with Inktense. So the first thing I did is I drew out the little bunny here on a piece of, this is the Visions watercolor paper. I just drew it out with my little mechanical cheapo Scripto mechanical pencil. And now I've got my kneaded eraser. And this is not a step you have to take. I take it simply because I need the guidelines, but I don't necessarily want them to show up. So if I take off as much of the graphite as I can going in, then it helps it to just sort of blend into the backgrounds. So now I haven't done this with Inktense, and so you kind of have to bear with me. So let's get you zoomed down here. Make sure that I've got my focus is right. Oh, there we go. Okay. Wow, that is awfully close, and you can really see that graphite. Let's see if I can get any more of that off. I don't think I need to get any more of it off, because all that's really left is, but I guess it's good that you can see it. Okay, all right, so once again, he's going to have a little Christmas scarf. Now, Ellen did hers in browns. I see no reason to change from something that works. So we're going to do that. I'm going to start out with a light, this is the mustard, which is kind of a golden brown. And I'm just going to put it just sort of around in, little places. I keep it off his nose. And I'm leaving the area in here blank because that is where pink is going to go for his ear. This one is facing the other direction, so it won't get any pink. I'm just adding a very light layer because I'm going to add more colors. Let's see here. I have the willow, which is sort of this pretty brown here. Oops, here. So I'll add some willow in. Kind of down at the bottom. A long-haired cat. Yes, not good. Good thing when I ordered my computer, I ordered a refurbished model because it was a lot less expensive, and I was able to get a bigger, a more powerful computer for the same price, or for actually less than if I'd have bought a new one. And I didn't realize that it would come, because they're usually sold in component parts. So I didn't realize that it actually came with its own keyboard. So I had ordered an Amazon Basics keyboard to go with it. And once again, this is just a little bit of red that I'm adding in, which I didn't think I was going to end up using. And sure enough, this is the amber. So I'm adding just a little amber around and adding that in as well. And so it turned out that it was very, very handy this morning because obviously the keyboard did not take well to being thrown up on. Because of course long-haired cats have lots of no matter how much hairball medication I give this cat, and no matter how many times I brush and comb her, she is still going to have issues. And okay, now this is the madder brown, which is what I want for these dark spots right here, where the this ear would be shadowing that ear, and around the back of his head, and a little bit around the front. Okay, so now let's see how we did. This is the magic of Inktense that I absolutely love. Because remember that this is going to be a whole lot lighter. I've also never used Inktense on watercolor paper before. So this will be an interesting experiment. I usually use it on just regular old everyday Create Space paper. Trying to leave that little area in there for some pink for his nose. I think I might have gotten him a little too golden. I can change that with a second coat or a second layer. Trying to work fairly quickly because Inktense does dry, and when it dries it becomes more permanent. And then when it's completely dry, it's completely permanent and you can't move it anymore. It is very much more movable on watercolor paper than it is on other paper because watercolor, of course, has a different saturation point than and a different absorbency than, say, Create Space paper does, or KDP paper, as we now call it. The paper my books are printed on, which is 60-pound bright white, so, which is not a bad paper. It's not. It's just it's thin, but you can still use water mediums on it. But this, of course, is paper that is made for water mediums. Okay. Oh, we're looking not bad for a first base coat. The next layers are gonna be much more brown, but instead of, get away from the golden. But as a matter of fact, we can start that, maybe move into a saddle brown. I haven't used that yet. That's the baked earth. That's the saddle brown. So if you have Inktense and would like to give this a try, this is what it's gonna be like a little bit. I do use Inktense a little differently than a lot of other people. I'm sort of going all the way around, trying to make this my darkest point. And then I may throw in a little of the dark chocolate as well down in here for my little brown bunny. Just down here at the very bottom where it would be in the deepest part of the shadows. And then maybe switch up. So what was that? That was the saddle brown. Okay. Probably go with a little bit of the amber, which is, once again, it's getting into that yellow shade. Or that golden shade. And let's see. This one is the willow. Make that. I'm not being, I'm not being fussy or anything like that. I'm just throwing in colors. There's a little bit of madder brown just to add a little bit of that red tone in there. Maybe it's just a couple of places. Maybe along the inside of his little legs. Along the outside. that mustard color, which once again also is the gold. There's the saddle brown one more time. Back to the mustard. Maybe a little dark chocolate. Maybe he's got a dark patch right around in here. Make sure I darken that up so that it stands out from his little leg. Let's see what we've got here. Amber. Throw in some more amber. Okay. Now let's see how we did. Whoops. Getting the poor little guy up there. I can already tell I'm going to need to darken up right there underneath his scarf because there'll be shadow there. Oh, I do like the way Inktense behaves on this watercolor paper. And we'll be adding in some little individual hairs as well. But I'll do those with a fine brush pen. I really just want to see if I could watercolor a bunny rabbit. Oops. Got my little dabbing off my extra pigment. I don't want him to be too even a shade, but I don't want him to I don't want him to be too dark either. Okay. So we're going to leave that. And we'll go on to this part. And remember, this part I left intentionally lighter so that we could have it be his little legs. Oops. So it has been, I apologize that I have not made a video before now this week, but I was actually addressing the furnace issue. And the older I get, the more it seems that I can't do a bunch of creative things all at the same time. And fixing the furnace was a creative endeavor. I started out by watching many episodes of a wonderful young man who has a very helpful channel here. It's also very popular on YouTube, called Word of Advice TV. And he is a professional HVAC repairman. And it sounds from his accent like he's either from the Dakotas or maybe Minnesota or something like that. Anyway, he goes on needless to say, hundreds of service calls per year, and so he helps provide. I mean, obviously, you don't want to undertake any kind of a dangerous repair yourself. You want to call a professional for that. But there are some simple things that you can do and try, dependent upon what your problem is. So I started out by watching his video on how does a gas furnace work. What is the, because I could hear it trying to fire up, and then sometimes it would actually fire up, but it wouldn't stay on. That kind of thing. So I'm going to let this dry, and then I'll do a little more shadowing and shading. It wouldn't stay on. It would be on for about 5 minutes, and then it would quit. So, basically after watching that, and, he went over what are the top 10 things that, that his service calls are about. My pen has not got a lot of water in it, so it's not wanting to squeeze out. What are the top 10 things that could go wrong with a furnace based on what it's doing? Where in the cycle it's stopping and all of this. Anyway, this is sort of old news. I had done this actually a couple weeks ago. But I went back to it seriously yesterday, or actually day before yesterday, and because it was freezing. I woke up and it was cold in the house. It was like 56 degrees. So now I've let this dry a little bit, and I'm going to tweak it some. So I'm just adding some darker shades around the outside edge of this ear. Anyway, I narrowed it down to the furnace couldn't breathe. That seemed to be the issue. The furnace was having a difficult time breathing. And the air filters were all clean. It seemed like it could possibly be a problem up in the vent stack on the roof, and I did not want to go up there because obviously climbing ladders at 60 when you live alone is not a great plan. But he did have a few other suggestions. So one of them was to vacuum out there's apparently an A coil thing that has to do with your air conditioner, and there's examining your vents, and that is where I found a real particular issue. Once again, the cat, because it almost always boils down to the damn cat. All my issues always boil down to the cat, in one way or the other. So the cat had, and I did not realize this because it's on the back side of the dining room table. There's a vent underneath a buffet stand there, and there was a rather formidable stack of hardbound books that I had stacked there underneath that buffet table, or underneath that it's an old sofa console table is what it is. Narrow, high, it fits right on the wall in the back of the dining room, but the table blocks my view of it as I go into the dining room. So I did not realize that the cat, in apparently attempting to climb up on top of the books, had toppled the book stack over, and they were blocking the dining room vents. Add that to the fact that I'm perhaps not the best housekeeper in the world, and it had probably been a fair amount of time since I had actually vacuumed out the air ducts for the furnace, or in the floor vents, because it's got a bunch of floor vents. So I went around, I got my little vacuum cleaner, and I went around and I pulled all the vent caps, and or all the vent covers, and I vacuumed out the the cavities where those things are. The ductwork, that's it. And then I went into the attic, and I basically sort of banged on the vent pipe, and I heard something that sounded very much like a pile of pine needles. And I had actually looked at the roof vent through a pair of binoculars from the ground, and I could see that there were little, because the way that a roof cap works on top of your vent, there's let's pretend that this is the top of the pipe sticking out of your roof. There's this little rain shield thing that sits on top of it, but you can see from end to end, you can see the sky through it. So you know that looks just like a little birdhouse to the birds. So if they build a nest on top of that vent, your furnace can't breathe. So we did have a pretty severe windstorm a few nights ago, which may have knocked it loose, and banging on the pipe knocked it off. So the long and the short of it is that after having done all of that, I prayed to the mighty furnace gods and fired up the furnace, and it stayed on, and it stayed on, and it cycled through, and it heated the house, and it turned off, and when the thermostat called for heat again, it came on. So I am cautiously optimistic. It has now been running or working correctly for about 12 hours. Well, yeah, about 12 hours. Because the furnace or the roof is dark, or the attic is dark anyway, so I went up there at night because it doesn't really matter. And whenever I undertake to clean the house, it's always after midnight, and usually because I can't sleep. So now I'm just sort of evening out my little bunny here, trying to get rid of some of those watermarks. So, fingers crossed, powers that be. I still get anxious every time I hear the burners kick off, though. It's like, will it stay on? Will it stay on? It'll be a while before I stop listening for the telltale signs that it's kicked off again. Okay, so there is our little bunny. Now let's give him some eyes so he doesn't look like an undead little bunny. For this, I am going to use a micron as opposed to a brush, only because I am using Inktense. I'm going to leave just the tiniest of halos of light space. I'm going to leave a little circle up there for a little highlight. Okay, and now I'm going to define that little nose just like that. And he doesn't look evil anymore. I think I could probably... There we go. Oh, that's even better. Okay. Yay! Oh, cute little bunny. Hello, little friend. He's very cute. Okay. I think he's cute. I hope you think he's cute. Okay, now on to the next. He needs some little pink ears and a little pink nose, but I need to let that ink dry. I'll be right back. Okay, time for a little pink nose. Now for this, I have my handy little Caran d'Ache palette, but if you don't have one of these, oops, hang on. If you don't have one of these, you can just use the corner of one of these dollar plastic chopping mats or something along those lines. Just something with a little bit of a rough surface. So I'm just going to throw a little bit, because I only need a little bit of, let's see, what color was that? That was crimson red. Down on that. I'm going to grab my water brush and just sort of blend it down a little bit to where it's just pink. And that really shades down the color quite a bit. So that you can add it with a much more subtle touch than either using the water brush directly on the pencil or trying to put it directly down on the paper. Okay, so now we've got a little pink on his nose, maybe a little more pink on his actual nose. Since I seem to have put most of it on his ear. There we go. Now when that dries, it'll be pink. Okay, so I also, and then you can just wipe the palette off. I don't have any water on my desk, but what I want to do now is his little scarf. And for that, I need some Payne's Gray. Let me just grab the... I know it's out because I had it. I was using it for something else. There it is. So, I'm going to add a little Payne's Gray. I'm just going to take a little bit of it and do the outside edge of his scarf. add a little shadow in the corners of it. Maybe a little bit more, whereas little chin is shading over it. Just basically doing the outline so that it will stand out. And this Payne's Gray is a neutral enough color that it will actually just simply blend in to the shadows when I start adding the rest of the colors to his little scarf. Okay, so that's sort of got that part done. Now I'm going to leave that there on the palette, and I am going to pick, let's see here. Now, of course, I don't have to do this for Christmas. I could do it like it was Easter or Valentine's Day or 2020, you know, since it's a New Year, could be a New Year's card as well. I am going to go ahead and do it as if it is Christmas, though, because it is Christmas. And so I'm going to take some chili red, which in my previous thing, or the thing I was working on before, I verified that the chili red is fairly close to a Christmas color. But I'm also going to add just a little bit of Shiraz, which is a more bluey red or a wine red. So I'm going to mix those two colors together for a bit of a deeper red. Now, I could, of course, do this directly on, you know, by adding the pencil directly to the paper. Just sort of trying to evenly space these around, since they are just the first stripe. And, oh, he's so cute. Remember about offsetting when you go to the, and this is true if you're drawing a leaf or anything like that, if you offset the veins just a tiny bit so that they're not one continuous line joining two parts, it helps to add dimension to the piece, like it's got like, you know, it's bent somehow. Okay, so we've added some red. And we can always go back in and darken that up if we need to. But let's see what our next color is going to be. How about a, maybe a blue? Surely there's a pretty blue we could add. How about a Let's go with a navy blue, 830. I never use the navy blue. Move that, let me find it. There it is. The navy blue is the darkest blue, or the darkest true blue. So I'm just adding some to my palette. Not very much. And make sure that I've got all the red off of it. Maybe do just two little stripes between each red stripe. Maybe blue was not the right choice, but I think we'll make it work. Hope I had enough. I'm sure I do. I've got all these little outliers out here. Trying to capture in. There we go. It was just enough. Just enough of the blue. Okay, oops, I'm trying to get some water squeezed down on my brush over here so I can get rid of that blue. All right, now let's pull a green. A nice Christmassy green. I believe that is probably going to be the Ionian green. Let's try the iron green just to be a little bit different. Iron green is a blue green, whereas, sorry about that. Sorry for the close-up of my fleece sleeve. Okay, iron. So iron is a more bluey green than the Ionian green, which is a more yellow green. And so I'm just going to come along this way. We'll just pretend that that is two stripes. Right next to each other. Yeah, like that. Sorry about that. I was listening to LEFEBVRE, and she's doing the same thing, so. I'm guessing it's the time of year for all of us. Okay. Adding just a little fringe. To his little scarf. Oh, he's so cute. I know I shouldn't get thrilled with myself, but I do. What can I say? Okay. Okay, now, what about his little tail? Let's do a little mustard, so there's a little gold in there. And we'll do a little of the willow brown, and then a little of the chocolate brown. I'm also going to sort of outline a little bit with the chocolate brown. And I am just going to use, now I did pause the camera and I went and filled up my water brush, and I got some extra water. But I just wanted to add his little tail. And now I'm going to take this detail brush, and I'm going to see if I can't just pick out a few little hairs without making it too big of a mess, to make it look like it's a soft, fluffy little tail. Well, yeah, it's not quite right, is it? Let's add some chocolate. No, wrong one. Let's add some dark chocolate. Uh-oh. See if I can't add. There we go. That's a little better. That's a little better. Add some darkness into it. There we go. That's a little bit better. It's got a long tail for a rabbit. Oh well. we can deal with that. Okay, now I'm going to take and add a little more of the chocolate. And I'm going to add some of the willow. And I'm going to use the big brush and mix that sort of all together. And the more I mix it, the more of it is actually going up into the brush. Now I'm going to roll this over, and I am going to add in a little tree stalk with some branches. And once again, this is always easier for me to do upside down, which is why I turn it upside down. Okay. All right. So now we have that. And I don't believe we're going to need that brown again. I could use it to add a little more detail to my, let me see here. See if I can add some little hairs in to my little bunny here. Just a little bit of a subtle touch. That devil is in the details, don't you know? Okay, so once that dries, it won't look quite like that. It'll look a little bit better, I think. It really shows up on the camera, but it's not nearly so in your face in the when you're actually looking at it with your eyes. That high-def camera does see everything except the stuff it misses. Doesn't always get the colors just right either, but pretty close most of the time. Okay. Alright, so I think we can get rid of that brown now. And I'm going to go ahead and wipe it off so that I don't confuse it with anything else. Okay, now for our pine needles. So good colors for pine needles are the Ionian green and the felt green. So let me grab the, that's a vivid green. No, don't want a vivid green. Definitely want a felt green. That is this one. So I am going to, now I could, and probably the better choice would be to take it directly off the pencil, but we're going to try it on the palette for right this very second. Sorry I've gone quiet on you. Sometimes it's hard to remember to talk and work at the at the same time. There's going to be a second layer and a second bit of color as well, so I'm going to run out of color before I get there. Alright, so we've got to add a little bit more. Fortunately, it's forgiving that way. Well, this looks like a different color. Well, that's the felt green. Says it's the same. Okay. Alright, so that's good. Now, let's add a little bit of... Oh, let's add a... Let's add just a few right there. Okay. Now, we can go with a different green. Maybe go with the Ionian green. And do the same thing. Just going to mix those colors all together here. I want it to look like it's a night. And don't worry, they can go every which way as long as you keep them sort of going upwards. They can cross each other, they can. You just sort of want to avoid making solid colors. But they would, you know, in nature, they would be going every which way. So we're just really adding a second depth of color. I'm gonna get that one. Okay. Let's see here. Add a little more of that. Ionian green. Just want to make sure I've got the right one. Speak, Christine, speak. Sorry, I've got all quiet on you, everybody. Okay. All right. So now we have a nice little tree. I'm listening to a lot of things. By the way, the furnace, while I was making this, I noticed that the furnace had not shut off, but it seemed to be getting steadily colder. So it looks like my fix, while it worked for a while, was only temporary, because apparently it is now overheated once again. But the fact that it worked for 12 hours is heartening. That means that perhaps I just need to give it a break. I mean, it's supposed to work all the time, but when they put it in, I knew that the part of the problem is it's just not the right furnace for my particular house. It's too large a capacity, so it probably has to be babied a little bit. The first year I had it, it used like 3 times the amount of gas that any of my gas bills had ever been before, so that's better. So we'll just keep trying. In the meantime, the house is actually warm, so I'm not too worried about it. Okay. Do we need any little red berries? We should probably put some little red berries on. Let's go with Shiraz. Well, we'll put the Shiraz down. But now I will tell you that the palette is a little bit tough on the points of your pencils. So you can also use it as sort of a quasi sharpener by turning your pencil on the side like this, and it helps to actually keep your pencil sharp. So, oops, sorry. Alright, so this is, once again, I've got this little tiny fine liner brush. And the reason is because I want to do little berries. I don't want huge berries. I just want little ones. My cat is being a pain. Somehow she's gotten it into her mind that my office is a place for her to sleep, and it could be that her cat tree is in here, but the cat tree is near the window, and so it's a little cold in the nighttime. But she's generally being a pain. Just the last couple days. And she's trying to get up high on things and just knocking stuff over like crazy. I don't want to go too nuts with this. Yeah, I think that's plenty. That's plenty. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, maybe we'll go with one little one right up there. Alright, so now we're going to take that down. Hang on just a second. Okay, well, I fixed the cat up with a box. Her bed is actually in the box, and we'll see if we can't convince her that that is where she needs to be. I keep wanting to add one more little bit of berries, and I know that I shouldn't. Well, let me see if I can add one more. Maybe we'll just steady ourselves with adding a tiny bit of shading to the bottom of a few of these. Dealing with a little micro. Let's just add 1 or 2 right up here. There we go. That makes me happier. Okay. Now I'll take a little bit of this and add just a little bit of definition to these ones down here with a little bit of a deeper color. And I'm not worried that there aren't any stems going to these or whatever. It's the impression that we're trying to give. Okay. I think that we need to add a little shading in underneath his feet. So let me go back up to my Payne's Gray and blend a little of that out to a nice light gray. Make it a little bit darker underneath him. Just throwing in a little bit of that blue. Sort of fading it back a little bit. Okay, that's better. Okay, now I'm going to add just a little bit more. All right, I think that's gonna do it. By Jove, I think we've done it. Oops. Get right up in there. There we go. There we go. Okay. What do you think? Do you think do you think he's adorable? I think he's adorable. I think he's adorable. Yay, I did it. Ellen, I did it. Once again, this is based upon a tutorial that was that I saw on Ellen CRIMI-TRENT, and I have gone ahead once again. And, I mean, she gets a lot of free advertising from me, and I've never even, I mean, I've left her a couple comments, but other than that, she's just a good teacher. And I always like to share that when I find good teachers, as is Emma LEFEBVRE, it's LEFEBVRE. So I think it's it's either LEFEBVRE or LEFEBVRE. Anyway, she's a good teacher. She did recently she did a fox in the snow, and so I want to try that one. She also did, but Ellen also did one. I don't know which one did them first, but they did snow globes. Ellen's had a little cabin in it, Emma's had a little bear in it. And so I'm anxious to try all of those things with these various tools. So I hope that you don't mind that I do bring you this type of video. If you like this kind of video, and I know that there are several of you that do, please do comment in the comment section below. As soon as I start making original designs of my own, I'm very likely to reopen my note card company, which is called Inbalance Note Cards. And it's got a Facebook page, but I haven't done anything with it since I gave up making note cards. I used to make note cards based upon the designs in my coloring books, but I ran out of, I could only spread myself so thin before something had to give. So the note cards had to give. And at the time, I was pushing the fabric designs. So, and now, I'm basically pushing the coloring books again. So if you love to color something pretty, please do keep my books in mind. That would be those ones right there. And, of course, the new one, Dragons, Flowers, and Mandalas. Oh, my. Until we meet again, please do color something pretty. Bye, everybody.